Riding Side Saddle listeners. It's Lisa.
And Tammy.
Here we are.
In the studio.
Yep, the outdoor studio.
The indoor-outdoor.
So, AKA we have our windows rolled down on our vehicle.
Right. So you might hear other cars, you might hear some people, you might hear birds.
Birds are good.
It's beautiful in Wisconsin today, so it's not hot, it's not cold, it's not humid, it's just right.
It is perfect.
We get like about, 10 days like this out of the whole year, so we're leaving the windows down.
We are living it up, my friends. Living it up.
We'll live on the edge with our windows rolled down. So we're here just talking about stuff that we talk about all of the time together.
We do.
So, why not let you all in on some of this deliciousness?
Deliciousness? I was going to say ridiculousness,
all right,
but
fine. Ridiculously delicious.
Perfect. They rhyme a bit.
Someone once called me frighteningly wonderful.
Ooh.
I know, I liked that. I want to put it on my bio.
That sounds sexy. Frighteningly wonderful.
Yeah.
How about wonderfully frightening?
No.
Oh, I'd like that.
Yeah, you would like that. But no, that's not what he said.
Frighteningly wonderful.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good compliment.
Yeah. So, this is ridiculously delicious.
Okay. Or deliciously ridiculous.
Well,
I like that too.
Maybe. Maybe.
It puts a different spin on it.
It does.
But
take it how you will.
It's still really wonderful.
Well, we think it is anyway.
So share. We talked a little bit about some
Share?
of the topics. No. Not Cher the singer. We already did this in a different episode. Let's not go back to that.
Can't help it because now every time that's all I see.
Cher, like Cher. No. So we were planning for our session tonight, our recording, and as part of life, right? These things come up all the time. We share our experiences with one another because we love each other and we catch up on life, and that's usually most of our planning sessions. And then we literally say,
now what?
We have to stop talking about this
right.
because this is an episode.
Yeah.
So Tammy had shared a situation that she had experienced a couple of different examples of that really hit a root issue.
Yeah, it struck a nerve
she's,
for sure.
Yeah.
So I have had this issue with belonging probably my whole life. I very distinctly remember it in later middle school, maybe even early high school, where I felt like I was on the outside of the inner circle. Not like I'm in the circle.
Like in your friend group?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the circle. It's not that people are not nice to me and don't let me in. I'm in the circle. I'm just on the outer edge of the circle.
Like they'll take you, they'll leave you.
Kind
like
of.
that feeling.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
She's fine.
They don't really notice me if I'm here or if I'm not here. I'm here and I can have fun and that's great. But if I just stepped away and they kept on walking and I didn't follow, they wouldn't even notice. Like that. So it's been this is something that I've known about myself for a very long time. And what I didn't realize is that I have a tendency to move from one group of people to the next, and I just leave people behind because I feel like I don't belong and they won't notice if I'm not there or not.
Yeah.
So as I'm getting older, I'm not wanting to leave people behind so much. Not that I wanted to leave people behind. It wasn't a conscious decision. I realized after the fact, when I look back on my life and my patterns, that that's what I had been doing.
I see.
Looking for the place where I belong. So I leave these people behind because I didn't feel like I really belonged there. So then I'll move into, I'll focus on this group over here. And then I start to feel like I don't belong. And then the universe brings you what you need, right? So, I need a different group. So then now I have a different group. And and every time I move into a different group, the group that I was with before gets left behind.
Yeah. So you feel like you're feeling good about it up front, but after a period of time, you feel a little bit lukewarm.
Or I don't even feel good about it up front. I immediately feel like I don't really belong here, but I really want to belong. But the more I try to make myself belong, the worse I feel about myself.
I see.
These are clearly not my people, even though I really want them to be. And they're nice enough. It's not that they're not nice. I don't know how to describe it other than it's a feeling like I don't really fit in.
Mm-hmm. Self-consciousness?
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how it is when you meet new people and they have history and you don't have that history.
Yeah, I do.
And they talk about their history. They reminisce like you do, right?
Certainly.
Which is really a lot of fun. Except if you're the one person in the whole group that didn't experience those things and now you have nothing to add to the conversation. It just reminds you that you don't really belong with these people. You don't really fit in.
So a little bit it's self-perpetuating,
Absolutely.
right? Because if you are continually having like shorter term
Absolutely.
relationships in these groups, you're never going to find that place of that commonality or their reminiscence.
You have to put the time in order to have the experiences that you later can reminisce about.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't give these relationships enough time and enough energy, you never get to have the experiences or the longevity to then get to that point of reminiscing.
And then you feel the gap.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, these aren't my people. I find somebody else. And again, it wasn't a conscious thing. I wasn't doing it intentionally. It just, as I look back on it, that seems to be what happened.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure, again, looking back, that I hurt people by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, people could reach out to me as easily as I could reach out to them. I'm not taking all of the blame here, but when I think back on how many people I just have left in my wake kind of thing, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I get that too.
People aren't disposable, and it kind
No.
of feels like that's how I treated people, even though that was not my intent.
So I think I have a similar experience that I just, like you talking about this kind of just brought it to the surface for me. And I've mentioned this a few times throughout the course of my life. I don't know that it's specific to like social friend groups, but it has always been a situation that I have experienced from moving from one job to another. So, I've been in, I'm the type of person who usually sticks around at a job for, and not 25 years like you, but like I was for 10 years, I was for 6 years, for a decent amount of time.
For sure.
So you get to have some really longer term relationships with people that you work with. And then when you leave a job, it kind of feels like it's a little bit of a breakup with people that you interact and engage with regularly, and you've become personally connected to.
Well, you see them for 5 days a week, 8 hours a day,
more
at
than
least.
Anybody in your whole household.
Absolutely.
Or your family,
for
or
sure.
your friends outside of work. What I've always noticed, though, is as I transitioned from one job to another, those friendships also just completely disintegrated. Like there weren't very many people that I stayed connected to beyond that work relationship or that work experience. And it always made me really sad. Like in retrospect, in looking back, I would think, clearly I felt and thought more about them or of them perhaps than they thought of me. Because I still think about people that I, worked with 20 years ago.
Sure.
But that just completely disintegrated. Like once I was gone, that relationship was gone. So I feel that, but it's not necessarily, I don't think 100% the same thing.
Not 100% the same thing.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. It's similar though. I'm not very good at reaching out to people and staying in touch. And I think that is It's probably rooted in some self-worth, I suppose. But again, it's the belief that they probably don't really even notice I'm missing, right? Like that is like the core belief that keeps following me around.
Mm-hmm.
It's not actually true, because there are people who do reach out to me and they're like, I miss you. Where have you been? We need to get some time. And sometimes it's hard for me even to respond, to get time on the calendar to do something. And it's not because I don't want to spend time with those people. I do. It gets to be feeling very overwhelming. And then well, you know how I am when I'm overwhelmed. I just stop responding.
Yeah.
And it's not because of, it really is no reason other than I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, so what happened recently, it actually was 2 weekends in a row, 2 different groups of people, 2 different events, but it was the same message that I received. And I'm not going to get into any details. I'm not, trying to be vague, to be, mysterious, but people listen to this podcast, and I don't want them to feel like they did something.
Certainly.
So I think all I really can say without giving away too much is that it hit that I don't belong chord in a very personal part of my life. And the first time it happened, I didn't react until a few hours later, and then I was alone. It was just Josh and I, and I said, so this happened, and I just need to talk about it. I'm not asking you to do anything about it. I'm not asking you to fix it or address it or anything. I am telling you this is a me problem, and I just need to talk about it. So I told him how I was feeling, and we've had these conversations before where
it's come up before.
It has come up before. I sometimes I just feel like I don't belong. And he doesn't understand that. And I don't know if this is a male-female thing, or if because Josh has not left people behind in his wake. He does not. He hangs on to people, like it or not. He is in. Yeah. Like, that's it. He's
loyal. That level of loyalty is very high for him.
Absolutely. And he he's really good about reaching out to people and communicating, and so he doesn't understand where I'm coming from. And when I tell him how I feel, he gets sometimes a little dismissive about it. And I have to tell him, please don't dismiss me like that. This is how I feel. I understand that you feel like it's not really founded, but it is to me. So just let me have it. Let me say it so that I can work through it. If you dismiss it, then now I'm minimized on top of everything else. I feel shame and judgment when I'm coming to you as my spouse to not feel those things. I just need to say what I need to say. Yep. I just need to share with you how I feel without any baloney. So that's what happened. And he was, oh, now I feel bad. I didn't hear it that way. I don't know why you feel like that. And what can I do? How can I fix it? I already told you. I don't want you to fix it.
Yeah, stop right there.
I'm not asking you to fix it. Can't I just have a space with you where I can share how I feel about something?
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
I'm not mad about it. I'm not angry with somebody. I recognize this is a me problem. And it touched on something that brought up a bunch of yuck.
Yep.
And rather than sit over here on the passenger side of the car being all quiet and mopey, I'm telling you what is going on in my head. So, okay, fine. We moved on. The next weekend, the same exact thing came up again in a different context. And I didn't react in the same way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was because I had already had a bigger reaction the week before, and I had shared it with somebody, and what I said was, I never really feel like I'm in the circle. I'm always on the outer edge of the circle, but I'm not like in the circle. And she looked at me. It was Catherine. And
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine. She looked at me and she said, Tammy, you are the circle.
Silly girl.
Right, right. Oh my gosh, it's making me teary just saying it again. And so I took that all the way in. I cried when she said it. I'm getting teary now. I am the circle. So when I think of it in that context, and I think about all the people I've left behind because I didn't know I was the circle.
Yeah.
And how hurtful that would be to be left behind. It's almost like I'm going to leave you before you leave me. It's abandonment, belonging, all of those things coming up. So when it happened the second time in 2 weeks, and I didn't have the same reaction, then I had to go, sit with that for a little bit.
Out.
Right. So why did I react differently in just a 1 week span? I still don't have the answer to that. I don't know. But then it came up again last weekend. This is 3 weekends in a row now. The topic came up. It wasn't the same kind of situation, but the topic came up, and I thought, okay, Tammy,
here's your opportunity.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
So I shared and said, I'm going to be very vulnerable and share this. So the first weekend I had a big response. The second weekend I didn't have a big response, which was interesting. The third weekend I'm ready to talk about it, and the universe says, well, I don't know. Are you really? Let's see if you pick that thread up again. You know how it is. Conversations get interrupted, and sometimes you get back to it, and sometimes you don't.
I do.
I very much felt like I have to say this.
Yeah.
Even though the conversation had moved on. It was like, so about that belonging.
Okay.
So the conversation interrupted.
Okay.
And it was like, pause.
Got it.
What are you going to do now?
Got it.
Are you going to own it?
Are you brave enough?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Are you going to share? Or are you going to just swallow it and let the conversation move on to wherever it goes?
Because if that second option would have happened, I'm putting myself in your shoes in that moment. I would have been like, all right, so I'm literally so out of place that nobody even gives a shit that I just said something really vulnerable and important to me, but we're just going to carry on and have a conversation. I'm out. That
crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in conversations with people where it gets interrupted because someone sees a squirrel or a shiny object, and what I was saying that I thought was important, people weren't listening anyway, and then I just shut up because I'm not that important anyway.
I have done that so many times, and it really makes you feel shitty.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
I fully agree. I have definitely felt that way.
Yeah. So there I was, one of two options. What are you going to do with this?
Right.
And it's like, so about that belonging. And everyone was like, oh, yeah. I want to hear this. It wasn't the story that I tell myself.
Yeah.
That is not what they were thinking. The conversation just got interrupted because sometimes it does.
Yeah.
So when I shared...
So you were feeding a wound,
absolutely.
If you would have closed your mouth and let it carry on to the next topic, it would have been feeding a wound for you.
Absolutely.
And self-fulfilling.
Yep.
See? This is exactly
right. And then what would have happened is I would later that day, later the next week, later a year, 5 years from now, I would think back on that conversation to remind myself that I don't belong.
Yep.
So when I don't reach out to people, when I decline an invitation, when I'm not included, then I'll flash back to that and think, well, I never really was. Remember that time when I was trying to be vulnerable and nobody listened? Right.
But it was self-fulfilling.
It was self-fulfilling.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. So this time I brought it back up and everybody was very interested. In fact, I think I had to bring it up twice. So when I shared that I often feel like I don't belong, and like I'm on the outer edge of the circle and people wouldn't notice if I'm there or not there, and their jaws didn't literally hit the ground, but it kind of looked like they did, and they said, I can't believe you're saying this. I feel like this all the time.
Yeah.
So that part of the conversation came on the heels of the reason why I brought it up was because I don't even know how the topic came up, but independently, people were started telling me about, they were reminiscing about the time that we first met.
Yeah.
So independently, they're sharing with me their recollection of those moments and how impactful I was to them, which I had no idea. Right? You just are who you are, right?
Right.
You just treat people the way you treat them,
Here
and
I
you just
am.
have
Right.
right, no idea the impact you leave on people, and for them, they just independently started talking about it, and I was getting emotional because I had no idea that, again, I was having that impact and they were feeling that way about me. But then I was like, okay, I need to just share, because they are helping me repair this wound and they don't even know it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That conversation allowed you to see the gap between
Absolutely.
how people experience you and how you believe people experience you based on your self-worth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Right. Right. So while they're all thinking I'm, acting like a therapist, not with a degree, it was just friends talking. Don't anybody get upset about that. I am the one who is healing during this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was pretty beautiful, actually.
That is, that is definitely a moment, that you can reflect on for any time that
Absolutely.
this comes in, right? Because you're rewriting your own message that you've told yourself.
Right.
The self-fulfilling message is now transitioning 180 degrees.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, it makes me wonder, as I'm thinking about this, it makes me wonder if, as women, and you have deduced that this core view of yourself started perhaps in like middle school.
For sure. That's when I noticed it. I think it actually started before that, but that's when I remember feeling like I don't really belong.
I just wonder if societally, as little girls, like truly we're little girls at during that time, if there's conditioning around that. Because
what do you mean?
Well, I haven't thought this all the way through. Can you tell? But it just sponsored the idea that, if you felt that way, right? And I felt that way. And, the 4 people that you were speaking with had felt that way. This isn't an isolated thing. This isn't an isolated thing among women. Is it a human thing? I'm not sure. Your audience or your people that you're sharing this with were all women.
Right.
So do I know if it's a man thing? I don't know that men really spend that much time wondering whether or not they are, if they're in,
whether they belong.
Yeah, whether they're in the group or out of the group. I don't know that men's brains work that way, but I do know that women's do. And
that's interesting.
And I know early on, like elementary school level, you like as a girl, at least my experience was like there are cliques. You're in the clique or you're out of the clique. And if you cross over those lines in different groups, right? In, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th grade, if you cross over those lines, okay, now you're out too. And do you know what I mean? Like that shit happens. That happened 40 years ago. It happened 20 years ago. And it's even worse now. Like, like it
with social
has culminated.
media.
Yeah, substantially. So it leads me to wonder. I don't have the answers, but it leads me to wonder if, that's like, if there's I don't know, is it biological? Is it conditioning? I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't know either. I'm remembering a time when Josh and I met a new couple. Well, they were new to us. And I interpreted, Josh had reached out a couple of times after we first met them to get together. And first time they accepted the invitation. Second time they, respectfully declined. Third time, no response.
Oh.
And I was like, after the first, no, we have to work. I was like, well, okay, they probably do.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think it might even have been 2 times. Oh, we have to work. After the second time, I was like,
something's
I
not
don't
right.
know.
Yeah.
I'm not. And these were not people that we would see all the time. It was, sporadic at best. And when they didn't respond to his final reach out, I said, I think we might just have to let that go. What do you mean let that go? They're so much fun. Of course we want to see them. Why would we just let them go? That was Josh's response. And I was like, I really don't think they're interested.
Yeah. We like them more than they like us.
That. So I was like, maybe we should just, let that die.
And then start analyzing everything.
Well, right.
Like,
yes.
What did I say? Josh, what did you say? I knew you were being extra weird.
If we saw them more regularly, I might think it was that. But we only saw them like once a year. Yeah. So I don't really think he did anything extraordinarily weird one time.
I mean,
it's possible, but I really don't think it was. I think it well, so of course it feeds that abandonment wound and the, not belonging. It feeds that for me in a very unhealthy way. But also I think they're just busy, right? Yeah. They have their own lives and we're just like breezing in every, once every year or two. So like, our lives are full. We don't have time for people when our lives are already full. And I get that. Like people that I want to stay in touch with, I can't even stay in touch with. Yeah. So I get it. I'm not actually taking it personally, but kind of to your point, he was like, no, of course they want to be with us. And I was, I don't really think they do.
Yeah, right. Because
if they did, they would.
Yeah.
I think we should let that go. And he really was not, he didn't love that idea.
It wasn't registering for him.
It wasn't, no. And and maybe he's right. He was like, I think they really just were busy. Well, they might be, but I don't think we should keep pursuing that. We look a little desperate. Let's just let that go.
Well, I think we're fucking awesome, so we should try one more time.
That is how. Why wouldn't they want to hang out with us?
Right.
Of course they want to.
Hello?
They're just busy. Okay.
Do you know us, Tammy? We're amazing.
Right. Which is why I think he never loses track of people, because he always feels like, of course they would want us to reach out. Of course they'll be happy to hear from us. And I'm the one saying, yeah, we could just let that die.
Yeah, interesting.
Not that I didn't like them, I did, but yeah, we could just let that die.
Yeah.
Which I really think, again, it goes back to the abandonment thing. So I'll leave you before you leave me.
Right. It's a level of vulnerability.
And I'm feeling like they're leaving. So I'll say we cut that off.
Right. I don't want to feel vulnerable.
I don't want to feel abandoned.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So I will decide that this is over.
Right. Interesting.
Of course, if they called tomorrow, I'd probably be like, oh, okay, sure. We're free.
Let me
rearrange a few things. Not trying to be desperate at all.
When you want to meet? 1 o'clock? 2 o'clock?
I could be free in 10 minutes. How about you?
It's like 12:30 right now? Right. So like, what?
Right. Oh, you meant like next month. Oh, I thought you meant right now.
Okay. Well, I'm free next month too.
I mean, I'm not, but I will be. I'll cancel some things.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really interesting. It's it's multi-factors, right? It's abandonment. It is self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
It is also that aspect that you talked about last, that I don't want to feel vulnerable to this. I'm going to act before you have the opportunity to act, so that I don't feel hurt.
Right. People always leave me, so I'll start doing the leaving.
Yeah. When in fact, by doing that,
I'm creating that situation.
You're creating it for you and you're creating it for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So by protecting myself, I'm actually hurting myself, and I'm hurting other people too.
Interesting.
Yeah. So getting rid of things that no longer serve you, that doesn't serve me.
That action doesn't serve you.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It leaves me feeling empty and, again, abandoned. I never fit in. I never belong. That doesn't feel good. So why would I want to keep doing that to myself now that I've recognized that that's what I'm doing?
Well, and it's been a long healing journey for you.
Absolutely. I'm 52 years old.
Well, this particular issue hasn't only come up in the last 3 weeks, right? This issue has surfaced a number of times in the last couple of years, even.
Absolutely.
Not probably like 3 weeks in a row and 3 different things.
No.
The universe was just be like, look, bitch, we're figuring this out. Like, you better start cramming because this is your final exam.
Absolutely. So before like this last 3 weeks, I think the last time that I really felt it was about a year ago. And in that moment, I was very upset and I didn't really know why. I knew it was because I felt like I didn't belong, but I didn't know why I felt like I didn't belong. And initially I tried blaming my husband and I was like, actually, that's not fair. I did blame him and he was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This is what happened. Why are you mad at me? And then I had to take it back.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not about you.
Right.
This was about me. And wow, that realization was huge.
That's uncomfortable.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. And he was like, you could have done this and you could have done that and you should have or could have. And you're right. You're absolutely right. So then it just was sort of like it just rested for a while. And then this year it came up again and repeatedly came up.
Yeah.
So had I not had that experience last year, though, I don't know that I would be in a place this year to recognize it and not have the same huge reaction, to be able to talk about it and move through it, even though it was still hurtful and painful.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I'm healing parts of that.
Well, it was stepping stones, right? You healed a part of it a year ago when you realized that it had far less to do with Josh and how he managed the situation, and far more to do with an internal wound that you had.
Absolutely.
And, to something that you say pretty regularly, like, it wasn't Josh's job to make sure that you felt a particular way.
Absolutely.
Right?
He's not responsible for my feelings.
That's right.
I am.
That's right.
And I tried to make him responsible, and to his credit, he wasn't having any of it.
Yeah. So that that was a huge step all by itself, right? So to take that back, to figure it out, to peel back the layers, the onion, and then be like, okay, so this is my thing. And then to like turn on the spiral, right? Now let's look at it from a different angle.
And we'll let it rest for a while. So it's not fresh.
Right.
So that you aren't ready for it. It came out of, to me, complete left field.
Right.
Oh, great. We're doing this.
Right. Here we are again.
Great.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a more public way.
Congratulations, though.
Thanks.
That's a lot of hard work.
It is a lot of hard work. Yeah. So I'm sure the universe has more of that ridiculously delicious stuff in store for me. But
there's always a bag of tricks.
Right. But for today,
frighteningly wonderful bag of tricks. Right. Wonderfully frightening is probably better.
That is probably better. Wonderfully frightening. Yeah. Yeah. But for today, I feel like I have put a little scab over that wound anyway.
Awesome.
So there's that. Yeah.
That's good.
That's good.
You aren't alone, obviously.
Right. I learned that and I was shocked. What do you mean you don't belong? Because from the outside, the people that I was talking to, my perception was they belonged everywhere they went.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would see them places, I would see they belong. Oh, look, must be nice to belong. Oh, look at that. Of course they belong. You've lived here your whole life. Of course you belong.
Insecurities, though.
Right.
You carry those along with you no matter how long you've lived in the same
Absolutely.
place or
Absolutely.
been involved with the same group of people.
Yes, you have
or
20 years
at
worth
the
of
same
history that I don't
job.
have.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Right. Yeah. It was interesting. And it kind of reminded me of why we're doing Riding Side Saddle in the first place. So that people don't feel like they're the only ones.
You're right.
You do belong. You belong right here.
Inner circle.
Yeah. You are the circle.
You are the circle.
And so I shared that story in this group of people I was with. And I looked at each of them and I used their name and I said, you are the circle. And you are this, and you, and everybody, you are the circle. And they all sat there. You could tell that was impactful.
Wow.
So Catherine sharing that with me, that was a ripple, and it's still going.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks for that ripple of kindness. It was very, very impactful. So it was beautiful.
I love it.
Me too.
Thank you for sharing. Thanks for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? In sharing that story.
Yeah. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to share it, actually. Because that not belonging thing, humans are pack animals. Like, we need to feel like we belong.
Absolutely.
And to tell other people that you don't have that core need met, whew, that's
a big one.
It's a very big one. Yeah, so.
Big giant sigh.
On that note.
Big giant sigh.
Yeah.
Well.
I'm healing it, though. This does not have to be something that I am destined to carry around with me for the rest of my life. I can make different decisions. I can change my belief system.
It's about the self-fulfilling piece, right?
For sure.
You've shifted that. So the story that you tell yourself no longer supports the I don't belong.
Right. Right. And what the other piece that I realize is that I hold myself back because I think I don't belong. So I don't even let myself.
You don't give all of yourself.
Right. I don't let myself get invited, I guess I'll say, to the inner circle because I already told myself I don't belong before I even saw the circle, inner or outer circle. So if I don't give all of myself, I can't really get all the way hurt, can I?
No, I see that. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out, like, I think everybody has, like core insecurities and things like that. This is not something that I can say, yeah, Tammy, I totally understand everything that you're saying. Like, I get it. And I do have experience of insecurity. I think that from like the way my personality is I have a tendency to sit back and simply observe for a really long time until I feel safe enough. So like I will be very quiet for a super long time, and kind of people have told me that I am very aloof until you really get to know me. And perhaps that's my way of not engaging, right? Not giving all of myself. But it's like I'll crack the door open just enough to peer through, and then I'll decide. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't do it the same as you.
No, you're more discerning, whereas I'm more like a puppy who just wants to be loved.
Yeah.
Let me in, let me in, let me in. But I can't let all of me let me in. I'm not saying that with all of myself. my tail's wagging, but my whole back end's not wagging.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
and you're just
I'm
at the
gonna
door.
observe this until I figure out if
you're at the door with your tail tucked.
Yeah, like I'm not sure if I want to be in this. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, like I haven't made my decision up about you.
Right. Whereas I feel like
like me.
Yes.
But I'm not so sure. So I'll wag my tail from 10 feet away so that you can't tell me you don't like me.
Well, I'll wag my tail. I just won't wag my whole ass when I wag my tail.
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference. There's the tail wag and then there's the whole wag.
My whole ass is wagging.
Yeah. I don't do that.
Maybe if you did.
I just have a little tail wag. Right. Maybe if I did, good grief, what would happen?
You'd have so many friends, girl. Probably more than what you'd want. It's true. You'd be like, no.
No more. My ass is not wagging anymore for anyone, ever.
Oh, gosh.
But maybe I would still have, like, friendships from high school, for instance.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Sharing that was very vulnerable just on its own. That is definitely...
I'm out of my comfort zone.
You are. Yeah. And it's healing, though, right? It's healing just to even talk about it.
It is.
And observe it. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
For real,
Is that a question?
No.
Did I put a question mark at the end?
You did. You did. Congratulations. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal to let go of things that don't serve you anymore.
Lifelong beliefs.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's not to say that. I mean, I'm sure people will still come and go because they do.
Of course.
Right?
But it may be because they're busy. And you can believe that.
It may be. Absolutely. Right. I don't have to take it hold it to reinforce a belief that I'm not enough.
It makes me remember things that are said, like about, so not necessarily about friendships, but about breakups in love interest relationship types of things. And I remember hearing this multiple times to say, most of the time when somebody decides that they don't want to be in a relationship or pursue a relationship with you, most of the time it's about them.
Yeah.
Like it really has very little to do with you. And I think that's that same concept where like, you just like, what's wrong with me? Nobody loves me. I can't find anybody. But in actuality, it is most of the time about something that's going on with them.
For sure.
So I feel like it kind of is in a similar vein from that perspective, right? So you're going to come across people who like, maybe you're just not their cup of tea, right? And
the hell I'm not. Watch me wag my tail. I'll show you.
See, here we go again. Maybe you have to take another turn in the spiral, Tammy. We got one more thing to learn about this. Maybe they don't like frighteningly wonderful, ass wagging, amazing laughter type of people.
Maybe so.
And that's okay. It really is okay. You can let one go. It's okay.
Okay. Well, we'll see about that.
We'll be talking about this again, I think.
Maybe.
With that in mind, though, we should wrap this one.
We should. Yeah. All right. So thanks, Todd, at Mind Garden Media, for always being our steadfast and putting
friend,
cousin,
being our friend and cousin, an editor and podcast creator.
Yes. And mentor and guider and all sorts of...
all of those.
Yeah, for sure. He is up to his eyeballs busy, and he still finds time to put this little podcast together to keep our dream alive. So thank you for that, Todd.
Absolutely.
Really, from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. So if you're thinking about doing a podcast, if you just want to talk to somebody about maybe an idea that you have, Mind Garden Media, give them a search. They're on Facebook. You can find them. They'll set you on the right path. So reach out to them if that's what you're thinking about doing. And
to our listeners, thank you. So I am such a freaking nerd. Somebody new is listening.
Oh.
In a country that, I'll be very honest, I am really terrible with geography.
Sierra Leone.
Yes, yeah. Sierra Leone. Thank you. I was afraid I was going to pronounce it incorrectly, so I shoved my phone in her face
West Africa
to say it. Yeah. So just this month, in the month of June, and
that's interesting because I had looked at our stats earlier in the day, and that was not on there. And you messaged popped. Me like I don't even know if it was half an hour later.
Yeah.
So it was somebody really new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like amazingly new.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody from this country.
I don't
so so thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Tell your friends.
I don't know how you found us, but I'm glad you did.
Me too.
Yeah.
So thank you all for sharing, and you must be having some conversations somewhere along the way to be able to introduce us to, different people in different areas, and we appreciate them sincerely.
Absolutely. So if any of these episodes are resonating with you, or you just think that they give you a nice little break in the day, or somebody who maybe could benefit from some of the things we talk about, like and share. Not like share, but like and share. Subscribe, smash all the buttons, do all the things.
Absolutely.
So people can find us.
Yep. Thank you so much.
All right. Till next time then.
Bye.
See ya.